we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
All right, welcome to episode 81 of the Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and an unchecked threat to society. And as luck would have it, I am rolling hard once again in the Mobile Doomsday Studio on the way to the Aeropuerto. Good times, good times. So, yeah, man, last episode was just, I guess, really, it was almost an hour, but, abused nonetheless, robbed you of 15 minutes. But I like the idea that got pushed in the chat that, like, yeah, man, just put out what you can when you can and call it an hour. It's a cumulative hour. It'll be an hour at some point. Just get by. Just get by, man. I'm just trying to get by. But, yeah, there's a couple things that I had thought of yesterday that I forgot to mention. Well, I didn't really have time to mention, but I had seen this thing where Khabib Nurmagomedov not gonna work here anymore anyway. Fucking Christ, dude. Nurmagomedov, how about that? Is getting his nuts smashed by the Russian authorities because he, for one, he didn't pay. He's down like $3 million in taxes. Dude didn't pay $3 million in taxes. And hey, man, I'm right there with you. Like, yeah, taxation is theft. Yeah, I agree, dude. It's great. Taxation is theft. But they're still going to come and rob you, dude. So why put yourself in a position? But then I guess there were some terrorist attacks in Dagestan. And some guy that was involved apparently had trained at his gym. Which, whatever, dude. I guess Dagestan, and I'm not your Dagestan guy or anything, but I guess Dagestan is, as I understand it, still technically part of the Russian Federation, but is very heavily Muslim. Like, it's a Muslim joint. And you see this, you see these cats, if you watch the UFC thing, and there'll be these dudes that are they got these Russian names and they speak Russian when they get interviewed, but they got these beards, man, where they just look like the pigs from Angry Birds. They got just like this big wacky beard and then no mustache, so they look like an angrier, steroided up version of the Quaker Oats dude, or something. I guess the place it's a little bit on the, when I say intolerant, I don't mean to sound it, weird, but I'd seen some videos, dude. There was, what was it, man? There's some girl, some red-haired, ginger girl, she's some Russian girl, she speaks English, and she goes all over the Russian Federation and does these videos. And, some are like, hello, I'm in Moscow. Who gives a shit, whatever. It's a city like any other, and she's just cruising around. But then she does somewhere, she goes out, to the east to these weird regions. And, man, you've heard the expression, America's not a serious country. These are serious places. These are serious places full of very serious people. And they're talking about, well, we know you're a foreigner, so we're going to overlook the fact that you're wearing pants. And she's like, what? She's like, they're like, yeah, we don't permit women to wear pants here. And I'm like, oh, where is this? But then they're also talking about, yeah, we don't, this business of short pants. What is this? We don't allow people to wear short pants around here. This is disgraceful behavior. I'm like, all right, you're breaking balls now. It's a bit much, but it's a trip because they're all white people, but they're out here talking about yeah, no short pants. All right. So I don't know, in a way, maybe they're they're the Christian fundamentalist of the Russian Federation. I don't know if these particular people, I can't remember the name of the places now, weird off the beat, way off the beaten path type places. But yeah, it's a trip. I guess there was some terrorist attacks in Dagestan, and one of these dudes with the weird, Quaker looking beard did something, or some guys did something. I didn't follow up on that because I don't particularly give a shit. You know, like, oh, some Muslims killed some people. The fuck you say? The fuck you say? That barely ever happens. But somebody did something, and apparently one of these guys had trained at this gym, and I don't know if maybe they were kind of overlooking, like, yeah, look, you're a high visibility dude. Everybody likes you. We want to keep things cool with the Dagestani community or whatever. So we're going to let you slip and slide a little bit, and then this shit happens. So the last story I saw was discussing the idea that maybe he makes a little comeback. Maybe he has to go back to UFC and fight, which to me would be interesting. You know, I think it would be interesting, and it's boring to say, oh, that's interesting, but I think it would be interesting to see exactly how this guy comes out, because I don't feel like this dude ever fought when he was, like, proper up against it, you know? Like, this motherfucker, like, oh, it wants to fight, has to fight. Like, motherfucker, you're gonna have to do this shit because you need to keep the lights on. Because this dude, he's really fucking good. His grappling is tip fucking top, but like the striking scene, and I don't know his weight class. There's some good dudes, but it's very weird, man. But this dude, he came in through through Sambo, which is it's like a weird. I mean, again, weird in Russian. But it's a weird Russian grappling deal where it's you're using like a gi top, but then like short pants and wrestling shoes. But all the techniques, and especially like the throws and such, it's very momentum based. It's a trip, man. And like it's all the stuff that John Wick, like all that shit. That's very like get a running start and like zaboom and like send a guy fucking flying over that way. Like, that's all this very Sambo style. So, like, if you compare, like, jiu-jitsu to... What the fuck am I doing here? If you compare, like, jiu-jitsu to Sambo to judo, like, jiu-jitsu is, like, getting rolled over by a steamroller. Like, it's very effective, but it moves... It can move fast, but generally moves pretty slow. It's a game of inches, like, and just crushing it, dude. Judo, in comparison, is, like... some grips, some pressure, some leaning, some turning, and then boom, then off you go. And, you know, a guy gets thrown. Dudes get thrown pretty fucking hard. But it's like that middle ground between jiu-jitsu and Sambo. Sambo, from what I've seen, is like, it's like they start kids doing this shit, and they're like diving over the top of each other, gripping legs, throwing dudes, splitting guys in half, and like, holy fuck, dude, like the only thing missing is a fucking trapeze. But this dude came in through that route, and that shit's like, it's extremely effective. I don't know how long you can do that kind of shit without really busting your body up. But that dude came in that way, and the huge advantage for him is that it allows a guy to get on top of a dude and really keep him there, like really keep him held down, and then just beat the shit out of him. So from what I saw, like the Khabib game, Nurmagomedov, is that I'm saying it right? The Khabib game, initially, like, his striking was just absolute dog shit. Like, he's just kind of swatting at dudes, you know, like his first couple matches, like just like not what you call impressive striking. But if he gets a hold of a guy and holds him down, now you can just beat the absolute shit out of him, and that's going to be the end of the show. So as it was, the guy came away unbeaten in his UFC career. I want to say it was like 28-0, something like that, but really impressive. As for, is there anybody else in that division that can, I don't know, how can you say, neutralize his grappling and then come back over the top with some striking? I don't know. Who the hell knows? I can't remember what division the guy was in. I know he was in, like, Conor McGregor, and him were in the same division. And that dude, it's a real pisser, because that dude, you want to see a white man do well, And that dude, like, he was a really good striker. I don't know how hard he worked on his grappling game, but when he decided to be a whiskey salesman and kind of take the pro wrestling approach of, like, I'm just going to make an ass of myself at every turn and then do wacky stunt shit, fighting Floyd fucking Mayweather of all things. Like, I'm going to go do this whole other sport and fight a guy that's at the top of it and see how it comes out. he didn't do badly, but he definitely didn't do super well. I mean, for fighting a world champion, yeah, you did fine. You did as fine as I would, if I lasted a round or so. Good job not getting knocked out till later. Obviously they're talking about, could it be a Khabib-Conor rematch? Oh my goodness, but it would be cool to see the Khabib come back and see how he performs, because when he came in, his father trained him, and it was basically a paved, smooth path for this guy. Like, yeah, you got to fight, you got to beat guys, but you weren't up against it in a way that just a lot of people in general kind of are. Like, you want to do this shit? Oh, well, you're going to have to figure out some other way to stay alive while you're getting your ass kicked and getting good enough to do this shit. You figure it out, dude. You're going to fucking suffer for a while. But this dude pretty much grew up doing this, grew up in the fight scene. So now what? Now you're up against it where, the authorities are looking at you. You got fucking taxes to pay. Can you perform now? Can you perform under that kind of pressure? And for young dudes, maybe, when you're not really up against it yet, you're like, what's the difference, man? Dude, I'll tell you what, in man world, times is fucking hard, dude. But I do feel sure that, the Dana White, the figurehead or whatever, Dana Weiss, apparently he's a Gentile, but, he's making his best effort to prove otherwise. But I did see an interesting thing on UFC where a guy did this video breaking down the whole ownership of this thing. And long and short, yes, tiny hats, of course. But comes back to some group, and I can't remember the name of it because I'm driving. But comes back to some group that's essentially headed by, drumroll, a guy named Ari Emanuel, a guy named Ezekiel Emanuel, and their brother, Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago and IDF guy, and who was it? Obongo's, Barack Obongo's chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel. So these are the guys that are major stakeholders in the corporation that owns UFC. And UFC in this instance really is just another, I think it's directly owned by Zuffa organization, which sounds Israeli as hell. And that's owned by something else, which is owned by something else, as is always the case with these clowns, right? So these three jokers own this thing, and long and short, you can really kind of sense the flavor of it, I think, when you compare this to other fight organizations. I watched on Amazon, they actually had on One Fight Championships, and that's just what it's called, One, O-N-E, One Fight Championships or whatever. And it appears to be mostly an Asian situation, but it was kind of a trip, man, because I was like, yeah, I'll look at this, dude, see what it does, because I know they have a few big name jiu-jitsu guys that compete under the One thing, and when you watch the thing, I never watched it before, and it was on, I want to say, Friday, and they had this deal, they show you the lineup, but it's not all one discipline. So it'll be a card, and then it'll be just a whole bunch of different disciplines. So the first one, this was hilarious, dude. The first match was it says kickboxing, and it was these two Senegalese dudes, not some black dudes, not like the UFC where it's some guy from Philadelphia and now he's saying he's from Nigeria, like the Nigerian prince. It's these two dudes from Senegal, and man, I'll tell you what, when you start talking about that triangle trade and why these tiny-hatted coin clippers were looking at West Africa as a source of labor, I mean, you look at East Africa and you got your Somalians and your Eritreans and these skinny dudes that are like, hello, I am the captain now. These West African dudes, these Senegalese dudes, holy hell, man, somebody's mom was spending time with a horse, and he's these cats are thick, and not that steroided jacked thick you recognize, all ripped up and veiny and shit. These cats are just big dudes. What the fuck? So these two Senegalese dudes get in there and they both just kind of suck, dude. And I mean, yeah, it's the undercard kind of thing. It's match number one. But there's some dude named Rung Rung, and he's fighting a guy named, I shit you not, Boucher KETCHUP. I was gonna fucking die, man. Boucher Ketchup. I was like, that's amazing. And they even made the point of saying, like, Boucher Ketchup claims his last name because of his favorite condiment, ketchup. So this guy's got a thing for ketchup. I will make my name Ketchup. That is what I want people to call me, Boucher Ketchup. I'm like, all right, okay. But as it happened, Boucher Ketchup couldn't fight his way out of a fucking phone booth. So our boy Rung Rung happened to carry the day. Which, what fucking ever. But yeah, the Mouse Olympics continue, and they didn't spend a lot of time on the build-up like you see in UFC. I mean, UFC, dude, good Lord Almighty. I mean, it could be like 5 or 6 fights, and it's gonna be hours of like, here he is, a poor black child with nothing to his name but a thermos, and they're gonna go on and fucking on, and then finally, eventually, you're gonna see these two idiots fight. But this thing was like, yeah, here's a quick thing. Here's this guy. He does this shit. Here's this guy. He's from over there. Now they're going to fight. Ready, go. Like, all right, shit. No post-fight interviews, really. Just like, yeah, you won. All right, good job. You good? All right, get the fuck out of here. Let's get the next guys in here. It was a little bit weird because it was like in a boxing ring type thing. You know, like how the old school boxing ring, it's just got like the ropes, yeah? So it's got this. You know, it's just got the ropes, and you have to constantly untangle guys out of the ropes. If there's any kind of grappling involved, it's constantly like, stop, and then they got to pull them back in here and get them reset a little bit, get them away from the ropes. All right, continue. And like, why don't you just do the fucking chain link thing, you know? I mean, that seems to work fine. And I don't know if they wanted to have some kind of a deal where, oh, we don't want to let the cage be a factor. I don't know. I had seen this other thing, and I can't remember what it is. I want to say like karate combat or combat karate or some kind of weird shit, you know. Like, dude's still wearing the long pants, you know, a la 80s kickboxing type shit. But they've got this deal where it's like an arena, except it's sort of like a square bowl, you know, like some kind of a giant ashtray or something the guys are fighting in. So there is a sort of a wall, there is a sort of a stopping point, but it's not really a wall, it's not really a cage, but you can't really be up on it. So it's kind of cool, I guess, insofar as like guys don't have to get stopped and pulled back in the middle to reset. It just looks kind of weird. It looks like some kind of pit fighting kind of thing, like Conan's going to come out here in a minute, which would be a nice improvement. But anyway, I'm watching this one fighting thing, and they have so they had all these disciplines, and they had a lot of Muay Thai, and that was kind of hilarious because Asians are a fucking trip. Like, I spent a good amount of time in Asia, and like shit that sounds really cool to them just sounds fucking weird to you. You know, you're like, what the fuck? Like, we're like, for instance, in Sri Lanka, and there's some soldier there that makes everybody call him Four Lion. We're like, what the fuck does that mean? You know, like 4 lions, like I have the strength of 4 lions. Well, yeah, but you don't have the strength of any lions. Like, you're just a fat guy. He's like, no, I am very strong. Like, well, I suppose compared to these skinny bastards over here, probably you're strong. Anybody's strong, you know. Somebody's daughter is strong compared to these dudes that probably eat like half of a time a day, like half a serving a day. That's all you get. But shit like that, dude, it's very trippy. So they had a guy that, like, on the card it says, you know, Black Panther, and I'm like, oh, good, it's like some kind of an activist dude or something, and that's like the only name that the guy gives. But he's a Muay Thai guy, and I guess he's pretty fucking badass, and he turned one of these Russian dudes with the mono beard, and doing this Muay Thai shit. And if you have not seen that shit, man, it's like you've seen, you know, if you watch like MMA, and there's some dudes, like, you know, some guys that focus on submission style, like some jiu-jitsu style, good on the ground. Other dudes focus on a stand-up style. But these guys, these Muay Thai guys, this is like a different animal, man. Like, these dudes, they swing their fucking legs, and it's like somebody swinging a fucking bat, man. I mean, they're coming from way over there, and that leg is just like whip, and I'm like, whoa, shit. And this fucking Black Panther guy cracked this fucking Russian dude in the cheek piece and turned this fucking dude's lights off instantly. It was like, holy fuck, dude. Look at this fucking guy. But yeah, you don't really, I think like the States, like you don't really see Muay Thai so much, but there are like a couple dudes, and I'm, you know, obviously in Thailand, but Southeast Asia, Muay Thai's a real big fucking thing. And some of these Thai dudes, they do this shit where they've got this, they've got like one name, you know, and it's almost like the pro wrestling effect. Like you're up and coming, you're trying to make something of yourself. You got to have two names. You have to be you, right? You're stuck being you. But, you know, once you get good enough, now you're a fucking heavy hitter. Now you can, like pro wrestling, like you can have your one-word name. You can be like the Undertaker or whatever. So there's like, you know, you got your Black Panther, and there's some other guy doing that same shit. And then my favorite of the evening was, this is kind of what I was getting to. There was this dude, there's a white dude fighting Muay Thai, dude from Iowa, right? And I can't remember the guy's name, doesn't really matter. But I'm like, oh fuck, a white dude's gonna fight some Muay Thai, man. Oh, I hope he's good, dude. Shit. And now they have like, you know, one of the very few like little backstory things that they're gonna show you about this dude. And they got this guy, and they're talking about like, yeah, you know, his dad had strip mall karate kind of shit, and he learned from his dad when he was like 4 years old, and then he started training Muay Thai, and he's so good, and he's like ranked number 5 in the world or some kind of shit. And then they show like, you know, him with his folks, him with his sister, and then they show him with his wife and kid, and his wife is, you know, yeah. He's getting his diversity on, drilling that oil, man. And I can't for the life of me. Like, what is this shit? Like, I've been to Iowa a couple of times for work, man. And, I don't like that cold, dude. But Iowa generally, like, the people, the culture, seem pretty cool to me, man. Like, there's a definite, I don't want to say innocent, but like a more wholesome feel, man. It's like normal white people doing normal white people shit. Like you go hang out, you go get dinner, go to a bar or something. You don't got to worry about where did we park? Do we got to walk through a shitty part of town? Am I going to get stabbed? You know, do I got a knife handy? Right? It ain't really like that. It just seemed real cool, you know, when I was there. And so I'm like, I look at this guy, and now here's this clown out here, and like, I'm Mr. Muay Thai guy, I'm world ranked, and here's my African wife and my 2 mixed kids. Like, what is this, a fucking Cheerios commercial? I was like deflated. I'm instantly deflated. And he's gonna go out here and he's gonna fight, and they're feeding some guy to him, some African as fuck dude saying he's from France. And, I mean, you've seen the type. This guy is, like, national team material. Like, this guy's not just, you know, I don't know, like, black, like, skin color. Like, this dude is African, like, in the magazine. And, of course, announcers are describing him as the Frenchman weighing in at whatever the fuck pounds. And I'm like, man, this is torture, dude. But the only good part of this, you know, walking into this thing, was this African dude's ring name was, I don't know what his name was. It was, like, Mahongabong Bongababong. So, but the name he's going by in here is Bambi. And I think maybe he thought he meant like Bam 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 Bambi, like Bam Bam or some kind of shit. But, you know, Bambi. So, Mahonga Book Bambi Bungabachong. You're like, what the fuck? You know, so, they're going to feed him to this number 5 ranked dude out of Iowa. They get in there, and apparently it was a hungry day for the African. Like, this African got in here and handed this guy his ass, which, I ain't gonna lie, made me laugh. I felt all right about it. You know, I'm never one to, like, root for the French African, but instead of rooting for the African, I prefer to think of it as I'm just rooting against the oil driller, you know? That's how I prefer to think of it. And, you know, the dude, he got knocked out, like, ugly knocked out. Like, this dude got cracked, and he didn't just go down. Like, he did the fucking wobbly wobble, and then, like, did a little shuffle off to the side like he was about to do a fucking magic trick. I was like, damn, that's ugly as fuck, dude. But, yeah, he went away, and then he was sad and embarrassed, and his dad was his corner man, and his dad had to give him, like, it's okay. Don't worry, you still have your 2 mulatto kids at home. Everything's going to work out fine. What a fucking loser. right? Because where are you now? Now you're just back in Iowa with your 2 Cheerio commercials kids. Right, so the other thing I wanted to say before I leave you to it and step inside to go get my ass looked in by TSA, I saw this, and I feel like I saved it or at least reposted it somewhere. But I had this this post, and it was one of them, I don't know, what do you, like 4chan or something, like one of those long, wall text looking kind of things. But it was some dude talking about how he's got a therapist, and he's talking to his therapist because he's just so fucking lonely, man, and hasn't ever had a girlfriend, never been kissed, like in his mid-20s or some kind of shit, and he's just so fucking bummed out, and he's talking about, like, not even just the sex at this point, like just a little fucking affection, just a little affection, just somebody to give a fuck, and how he's talking to his therapist, and that's like really his only real close friend is a friend that he has to fucking pay, a friend that he's got to have covered through insurance. I mean, what kind of shit is that, dude? And I guess, I wanted to fucking say 2 words about it, and I mean, I think maybe next time I want to dive a little deeper into it and share some ideas, but I guess the thing I wanted to hit on is, one, if this is you, I have to say that in a lot of ways, I think this is because for most men, dad ain't around, man, and guys don't always have a man that can say, hey, look, here's how to get by in life. Like, here's how to make a success of yourself. If you're trying to get affection, you're trying to, get some kind of woman around you or something, here's how to go about it. If you're having a rough time, here's how to deal with it. Or, here's the one thing you're missing, right? Like, here's the key to get through the door instead of you just standing outside crying and banging on the fucking door. Here's the fucking key. All right? Dudes don't always have that. And I think it's one, it's a goddamn shame, and 2, I think it's pretty fucked up that it has become kind of obvious. I mean, it ain't a fucking secret. You look around, dude, it's not a fucking secret. Men are raised by fucking women for the most part. Men are raised by their fucking school teachers. They're raised by their mom. And I'd say, at the risk of being too harsh on women, but I don't think I am being too harsh on women, women give a fuck mostly about themselves, and if they see you as a weak man in any way, shape, or form, they are 1,000% inclined to just push you out of the nest, 2, just kind of generally despise you. So where you could be a fully functional and decent fucking man if you could just get a little fucking help, women are generally just going to say, like, you disgust me, get the fuck away from me. So, asking a woman, like, what do I have to do? It's like, you're making it worse for yourself, dude. But I read this thing and I'm like, God damn, dude, this is fucking rough, man. This is just, it's a reminder, that, like, guys like that are out there. And so for dudes like us, I think it's kind of important to say, like, hey, they've got enough people saying, hey, fat fuck, hey, you piece of shit, why don't you get the fuck out of my way? They got enough of people like that in their life. Especially decent white men who are being pushed aside. I mean, pushed aside by society, pushed aside in every media outlet. Is like, look, if you're going to be anybody in this story, you're going to be the dweeb. All right, you're going to be the fucking dork. You're going to be the fucking loser. So just be the fuck over there. Being pushed out legislatively even. That, like, yeah, college, we don't really have a spot for you. College isn't really something you should consider. Have you thought about digging ditches? Because the world always needs ditch diggers. I mean, a wife, a woman, that's, we're not going to really look at that, vis-a-vis you. Maybe somehow you find some woman with a whole lot of issues, or, a single mom with 2 Cheerio children, and, that can be for you. But otherwise, you're just kind of out, you're being pushed aside, like officially pushed aside in the society that your forefathers built. So I think a good thing for us, man, like a responsibility for us, is to find those kind of people. And, where they do resist, because I've talked to a few people like this, and like, bro, you should just get your fucking ass in the weight room and the rest of this shit will fall in place. Which seems like a simple fix, right? But really it is, because people are essentially animals, and animals are always going to be afraid of bigger, stronger animals. So the chances of getting fucked with by some fucking Shaniqua that's like, hey, white boy, you can't talk. If she feels like you might crack her fucking head open for her, you're like, I maybe should watch my tone around this guy. That problem solves itself. You know, it really fucking does. But moreover, I think the message to send would be that a man should never be judging his worth by what a woman says, all right? Because in a woman's mind, thank you is a form of payment, right? I mean, they like the meme says, man, going through life on easy mode. You get something, you know, some guy breaks his fucking back to hand you something valuable, and what's a woman going to do? Like, what value is she going to give you in return? Thank you. That's it. In her mind, that's cash money. Like, I said thank you. No, dude, that doesn't mean shit. So, you know, I want to get deeper into it maybe next time. I want to put together like some actual content on this idea. But seeing this, like I can't say I honestly can't say I ever had that issue. But I mean, there's been times I was lonely, and there's lots of dudes I see and lots of dudes I talk to. They're like, yeah, man, times are fucking hard, dude. Try to find a wife in this environment. And good God, dude, the way things are right now, I mean, that's not easy pickings. But I think maybe we talk through some ideas on like some quick fix. Like, look, dude, like 1, let's straighten you out a little bit. 2, let's talk about this interaction with women thing. And 3, this loneliness thing. Like, this will just kind of take care of itself. And then maybe some ideas on, because I think I had done this before, like a few ideas on like health, wealth, relationships, developing these things. But I think it's worth revisiting, and probably worth revisiting from a less agreeable perspective. Like, let's get in the fucking weeds. Like, let's tell it how it fucking is, dude. And let's just get down to brass tacks. And I mean, I feel like you cats are the guys that can, if you're still listening to this shit right after this long, these are the guys that I can lay out like, all right, brass tacks. Let's get this deal locked up immediately. But until then, man, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go to the airport, stand in line to stand in more lines. Yeah, if you dig this shit, you know where you can find it. And, share it with your friends, man. The world needs more people like us. But until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon. Keep your neck out of the noose. I have been Coffee, and these are my takes.